is the apocalypse now. The difficult Duchess's worst nightmare has come true. Her response to her father's life or death drama.
Harry called Archie his African.
The first crack didn't come from a courtroom or a royal balcony. It started quietly inside Westminster, passed around in low voices, never announced out loud, just logged and moved forward by insiders who knew exactly what they were looking at. Late on a Thursday night, when most staff had already gone home and the halls were empty, a sealed procedural motion was submitted. No flashing warnings, no dramatic headline. It was filed under a boring label, administrative clarification. But anyone who read the summary instantly felt the tension spike.
Think so. William's very matter of fact, but let's...
Behind that harmless title sat something far more serious. A verification inquiry had been triggered. Not public, not hostile, just official. According to sources, it focused not on Meghan Markle directly, but on Archie, and it moved fast, within hours, not weeks, after one comment lit the fuse. That comment came from Tom Bower at a London literary event. The veteran journalist leaned back, scanned the room with that sharp, knowing stare, and dropped a line that froze the air. Calm voice. No theatrics. No buildup. He said the public has never been told the full truth about Archie's birth. No shouting, no drama. He let the sentence hang there. Heavy, unfinished, daring anyone to challenge it. When he followed up by saying, "I'm prepared to defend that statement," the shift was immediate. You could feel it. Something had crossed a line. Within hours, British media circles were buzzing. By morning, American outlets were circling. By midday, social media had gone wild. Clips spread fast. Reactions split hard. Some laughed it off. Others demanded answers. Denials collided with speculation, and the rumor mill spun out of control. And through all of it, the key detail stayed the same. No accusation, no public charge, just a quiet, official process sparked by one carefully chosen sentence that refused to be ignored. But behind all the noise, the clips, the arguments, and the online chaos, something else was moving, and it was far quieter and way more dangerous. In the United Kingdom, certain claims do not need public proof to spark action.
Like becoming a new mum, and tell us a little bit about baby Sussex, as we're calling him.
They only need concern. And concern is exactly what reached Kensington Palace the very next afternoon. It did not arrive with cameras, no courier, no official aid. According to insiders, it came by an unmarked flight and was delivered discreetly to a private entrance, away from staff traffic and public view. No return address, no official seal, just a thick package and a single handwritten note pressed against the front. The message was short and unsettling. For the future of the monarchy, open personally. Prince William did exactly that. The same day, the same afternoon. The timing alone made it impossible to ignore, especially given the name it referenced, Archie, born on May 6th. Inside the package, sources say, was a dense dossier. No logos, no branding, no government letterhead, just page after page of tightly organized material, timelines, photographs, records, and statements, all arranged with surgical precision. It did not read like an accusation. It read like a case file, asking uncomfortable questions. The first page reportedly caused an immediate reaction. The title was simple but heavy. Archie Harrison, Mountbatten Windsor, a timeline review. That alone was enough to make the room feel smaller. What followed was not a claim of wrongdoing. It was something far more unsettling. Inconsistencies, dates that almost lined up but not quite, public statements that quietly contradicted earlier versions, hospital references that shifted depending on which source was speaking, announcements edited after release without explanation. Even the wording used by palace spokespeople was highlighted. Passive phrasing, careful language, oddly vague details where clarity should have been easy. Nothing in the file said, "This is false." It didn't need to. It simply laid everything out and let the gaps speak for themselves. The file's conclusion was blunt.
A strange new rumor began spreading, and unlike many of the others, this one seemed capable of growing legs. Could it be that, as many have come to suspect, Harry and Meghan are lying about—
This does not align. And in royal matters, alignment is everything. One section zoomed in on the Portland Hospital announcement, the exact timing, the carefully chosen wording, and the quiet absence of customary medical confirmations that normally leave no room for doubt. Another section shifted to visual material from the pregnancy period, not framed as proof of anything, not accusatory, but flagged as repeated visual irregularities that had quietly raised internal questions over the years. Photographs that looked ordinary at first glance, yet appeared oddly inconsistent when placed side by side in sequence. Then came the detail that reportedly stopped Prince William cold. A witness account, anonymous, carefully anonymized, but precise in one unsettling way. The witness referenced a small physical detail about Archie, something never released publicly, never photographed, never discussed outside the immediate family circle. According to sources, William recognized it instantly. He had seen it once, briefly, during an awkward family gathering years earlier. A fleeting moment. No comments, no follow-up. But it was distinctive enough that you do not forget it. And now it was being described with exact accuracy by someone who should not have known. That was the moment everything shifted. No confrontation, no announcement, just a quiet instruction, a sealed internal verification order. Confirm, cross-check, review, no assumptions, no leaks, no noise. But once a question enters an institution like that, it does not exit quietly. Across the Atlantic, the impact landed hard. Headlines surged. Tom Bower challenges Archie birth narrative. Questions reignite. Sources confirm internal review. Meghan Markle was suddenly surrounded by noise from every direction. Calls, messages, advisors talking over one another. Everyone urging calm while asking the same silent question. She reportedly pushed for an immediate legal response. Draft letters, warnings, preparations centered on defamation. But when Tom Bower's reply came, it was devastating in its restraint.
Or just posting a lot more pictures. It has drawn a lot of attention to the controversies surrounding her kids.
Proceed as you wish, it read. Discovery benefits truth, nothing more. Nothing less. That was when unease turned real. Because Discovery is the one arena where narrative control breaks down completely. And it did not stop there. What unsettled observers even more was Prince Harry's silence. No statement, no reassurance, no public defense, not even a quiet briefing to friendly outlets. For 48 hours, he vanished from the conversation. Commentators noticed, the public noticed, and the question lingered louder with every passing hour. What kind of father stays silent when the noise is this intense? One headline cut straight through the noise. Is silence protection or admission? Another asked the same thing in a colder tone. And while the media chased reactions, the political machinery in London was already moving faster than anyone realized. Insiders stressed this was never framed as scandal. It was about constitutional clarity, lineage, documentation, precedent. No accusations were filed, no public challenges made, but questions had been formally logged. And in institutions like this, once a question exists on record, it cannot simply be erased. Back in California, that pressure cracked something open. During a tense, off-the-record exchange, according to multiple fictionalized accounts, Meghan reportedly reached out to Tom Bower through intermediaries. Not public, not official, personal, emotional, unguarded. The exchange was heated. Voices raised, control slipping. And in that moment, something reportedly slipped out. Not a confession, not an admission, just a phrase. The woman who gave birth, the sentence allegedly stopped there. Unfinished. But it did not need to continue. Because in stories like this, what matters most is not what is said clearly. It is what appears unintentionally. A fragment, a choice of words, a shift in framing that cannot be taken back. From that moment on, the story stopped being about gossip entirely. It became about records, verification, process, about what happens when a tightly managed narrative collides with institutions that survive on documentation, not belief. Somewhere between Westminster's quiet corridors and a Montecito mansion built on perfect presentation, a new question began to form. Not, who is Archie, but how complete was the story ever meant to be? And no amount of outrage could force that question back into silence. This was no longer about a child. It was about whether truth, once delayed, could still be contained. And whether a monarchy built on continuity, legitimacy, and public trust was prepared for what followed if it could not. A private jet touched down at RAF Northolt beneath a sky the color of bruised steel. No cameras, no crowd, just engines cooling and doors opening. Prince Harry stepped onto British soil like a man walking into judgment. He had not told Meghan he was coming. He had not told anyone.
Birth certificate, it shows Archie Harrison Mountbatten.
For the first time in years, he made a decision alone. Windsor Castle loomed ahead, ancient and unyielding. Inside a secluded room, far from tourists and ceremony, Prince William waited. No aides, no courtiers, just two brothers. And a truth that had circled them for years. William did not stand when Harry entered. He didn't smile. Not even a flicker. William looked worn down, older than his years, like responsibility had carved itself into his face long before he was ready for it. The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating, until it stopped feeling polite and started feeling dangerous. Then William spoke, flat and controlled. Did she give birth to Archie? The question landed hard. Harry froze. His mouth opened, then shut again. For a split second, he looked less like a grown man and more like the younger brother he used to be. Unsure, cornered, exposed. He had once been the boy who hid behind William when the world felt too big. And now, standing there again, he finally spoke. I don't know, Harry said, his voice cracking despite himself. Not for certain. That was it. That was all William needed. Without a word, William slid a folder across the table. Inside were copies of the dossier, timelines, statements, dates cross-checked against Harry's own travel records. Everything aligned too cleanly to ignore. Then came the last document, the one that drained the color from Harry's face instantly, a preliminary legal opinion from constitutional experts. Carefully worded, clinical, clear. If Archie's birth had been misrepresented, even unintentionally, his position in the line of succession could be legally challenged. Parliament would have grounds to step in. "This is bigger than Meghan," William said quietly. "Bigger than you. Bigger than us. If Parliament concludes there was deception, they won't stop at titles. They'll demand answers from the palace itself." Harry dropped into the chair, burying his face in his hands. "She said it was the only way," Harry whispered. "She said they'd never accept us otherwise." William leaned back, pain flashing across his face. "Did you believe her?" Harry didn't answer. Across the Atlantic, Meghan was unraveling. News alerts stacked endlessly on her phone. Whispers of parliamentary inquiries. Senior royals refusing comment. Legal analysts openly discussing succession implications. But the loudest noise of all was Harry's silence. When her lawyer finally reached her, his voice lacked its usual edge. "Westminster isn't backing down," he warned. "If this goes public, discovery will be ruthless. Medical records, witnesses, everything." Meghan laughed, sharp and brittle. "They won't dare," she snapped. "I'll burn it all down first." But even as the words left her mouth, fear crept in for the first time, because she knew something had changed. She wasn't fighting tabloids anymore. She wasn't fighting gossip. She was facing institutions that don't blink, don't bend, and don't forget. She was no longer fighting headlines or public opinion. She was up against institutions that had survived wars, abdications, and scandals far larger than hers. And they did not panic. They documented everything. Back in London, Tom Bower watched the pressure build with clinical calm. He had not released his final material. He did not need to. The silence, the hesitation, the internal movement, all of it was doing the work for him. When a reporter asked whether he feared legal retaliation, he gave a thin smile and answered without emotion. "Truth has a way of surfacing," he said, "especially when too many people are invested in keeping it buried behind closed doors." Parliament moved quickly, but quietly. A small cross-party committee was formed under the neutral language of constitutional clarification. No press conference, no public briefing. But the message was unmistakable. The monarchy was now auditing itself from the inside. At Windsor, William stood by a window overlooking the grounds as Harry prepared to leave. "You still have a choice," William said, steady and firm. "Tell the truth privately now, or let it explode publicly. Either way, it's coming." Harry nodded, tears falling freely. "I never meant for it to go this far," he said. William answered softly, "It always does." When Harry returned to California days later, Meghan saw the change instantly. The distance, the resolve. That night, after the children were asleep, he finally spoke. "I'm done lying," he said. Her expression hardened immediately. "You're choosing them over us," she snapped. "I'm choosing the truth," Harry replied. "For Archie, for Lily, for myself." What followed shattered the illusion completely. The perfect image cracked, and weeks later, a carefully worded statement emerged from Buckingham Palace. No accusations, no names, just an acknowledgement that certain inconsistencies surrounding the circumstances of Archie's birth were under review. The world read between the lines. Markets reacted, headlines exploded, supporters defended, critics celebrated, and somewhere in the middle stood a child whose life had become the center of a storm he never asked for. The monarchy did not collapse, but it shifted. Hard truths forced long-delayed reforms. Trust, once whispered about, was shaken, then slowly rebuilt, brick by brick. As for Meghan, she faded from the spotlight, retreating behind lawyers and NDAs. Her Hollywood comeback stalled, not with noise, but with quiet absence. Harry remained in California, more withdrawn, focused on his children instead of headlines. And Tom Bower published one final chapter, not as a victory lap, but as a warning. "Power built on illusion always collapses," he wrote. "And the truth, no matter how delayed, always demands its price." If you want to keep following stories like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in, because the echoes of this one are not done yet.